Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. Sattology means science of truth, a study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which is science or study of fake lie or imagination. I have to give this explanation. I know some of you don't like it, but I have to give this because we need to be reminded every single day. The second thing you can remind of yourself is Aham Brahmasmi. I am the spirit soul of the same quality as Brahman, but not Brahman. Remember that. If you say I am Brahman or I am God, then that is the beginning of all destruction. Gita doesn't support it. I have a, you all know who I'm going to talk about. The great Rishi, Muni, Tapasvi, and also Acharya of to many people. And he's inspiring more and more youngsters come forward with very good videos. So let us welcome Sri Nilesh Nilkant Oak.
Namaskar, Aditya Very
Namaskar.
happy to be here.
One of the interesting things comes to the mind is when you talk about the the Renaissance, the new people are rising, the Vedic people, the Vedic philosophy, the Vedic knowledge is rising, is upsetting many people because of its sheer brilliance, you can say, intelligence, and clarity. People are used to being told, "Shut up, get out, no more questions." But now the new culture is coming, question everything till the time you are satisfied.
Hmm.
But with the intent of, uh, you know, uh, we say paripatena, pariprashnena, paripatena. Intent of serving or becoming a better person. So what do you have to say on that?
Well, the Vedic tradition, the Sanatani tradition, the Bharatiya tradition, the Indian tradition is that of asking questions, okay? And asking lots of questions. In fact, they found this is a method as a methodology. They found this is the best methodology to impart knowledge. Okay, so that's why you'll see practically all our grantha. There may be few exceptions, but practically all the ancient Indian narratives, all the ancient narratives, Bharatiya narratives, Vedic narratives, they are in the form of a dialogue. So that is a good part. Now, so that is if people are asking everything today, essentially in a maybe right form or maybe in a deviated form, they're trying to imitate the Vedic tradition. But I said deviated form possibly because, and you mentioned that the approach in asking the questions has to be as explained in Bhagavad Gita, tadvidi pranipatena, pariprashnena sevaya, right? So pranipata, that pranipat has that shraddha aspect in it. Okay, you are asking it respectfully. You are asking it to create the growth of knowledge. You are asking yourself to make the knowledge better through this questioning, so the knowledge itself can grow, but also people can understand it better. And so as long as if those norms are respected, then questioning is a good tradition. But also that with a questioning, something else Aditya ji has popped up with this whole postmodernist nonsense, which is to say it's a relativism. Everyone can have their opinion. Well, of course, that's a trivial truth. Everyone has an opinion. That's not the point. The whole idea of using a certain logical scientific method is to screen through those opinions and get to the truth. So questioning is good as long as there is a sense of respect behind that questioning. So you don't ask a question to someone if you don't respect that person. What is the point of asking a question?
See, the thing is, in recently some incident happened in Dallas. We all know that what happened. There are the the phenomena of racism is not there in Sanatan Dharma or Hinduism, whatever you call it publicly, is not there because we don't believe in the prominence of body. We believe in the soul is inside the body is always divine, and somehow due to the influence of buddhi, the soul may act connected to the body, but our whole yoga process is to separate the buddhi and man and mind and from the body. But because of the lack of this kind of spiritual understanding, like evam buddhe param buddha samsabhyatmana, You know, the lack of understanding of separation of mind, intelligence, and body. People think they are one. Everything is one. Soul has merged into the body. Soul is present in the body, but not merged in the body. So, because of that, people create, okay, the community-based system which comes in that we are superior. Or even now, the immigrants are talking like that. That a Mexican person is telling an Indian American, Mexican American telling Indian American that this is what it is, which is, if you look at purely from spiritual point of view, is pure illogical and incoherent, and also lack of intelligent attitude. You know, you can say that I'm using nice words. I won't use what the Americans use generally. So the point comes here is the how can the the Indian origin communities in all West, like West means the Christian countries, all West, like the US, where the Indians have worked so hard to create economic prosperity for themselves, they can see this new phenomena of another immigrant attending a church, challenging them on asking them, "Oh, you are not, you should go back to your country." You know, like, and these ladies responded very well, very, very well. I would have done it in a much different way. I have done it many
Mm.
times. I've asked them, "You go back. You
Mm.
don't deserve to live here. This is an English speaking country." They get offended because their language, they've identified themselves with the Spanish world. They forget that the Spain was conquered them actually.
Yeah.
So, so how do you see it, and how what it can be the solution? And then we'll segue to our show today.
Right. Well, okay. So, I mean, a lot of points there. I'll mention couple. Before coming to this whole idea of racism, you mentioned something how the a soul is again not the correct word in the Indian context, but let's use that since many people understand it. Just like Indian civilization is a Sanatan civilization or Vedic civilization, Hindu civilization, but we use the word Indian civilization, right? So that people understand it, because people's knowledge is limited. That's why we use that. Similarly, soul word can be used, but truly it's a Atma, or if it's a soul, then soul is not Atma. But I want to just use that, and I may use the word interchangeably. But before that racism, you mentioned that people, the soul has merged into the body that they identify. Although soul has no identity, it has its pure identity, no distinction. Mamai jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashashtani indriyani prakriti sthani krashati. That mamai jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. That's all eternal. And that's why soul is not same as atma, because soul comes into being at a certain point for this, whatever the Western idea of philosophy is. I'm not saying right or wrong, it is their idea. They have to deal with it, they have to solve the problems raised because of it. The Bhagavad Gita's wisdom, the Vedic wisdom is what? Mame vansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. But to a specific point, so you said the people go to the extent of identifying their body with the soul. I'll take you further, and we see those examples everywhere. People identify themselves with their car. People, all the fashionable car they may be driving, people identify themselves with their house and their possessions and so on. So even going beyond the body, they literally feel so emotional. Like, some of the people who may have like most fancy cars or something, and somebody happens to scratch them, or not a individual scratching it, a car gets the scratch, they feel upset, they may not able to sleep. And I know a few individuals, in my last 30 years of experience, uh, very costly cars, aeroplane. One of my client customer had a small aeroplane, and aeroplane will get the scratches, dust. I mean, it's the speed. But if that gets a scratch, that person used to just go upset. Like as soon as we come down, I used to fly with him. As soon as we come down, he just goes around the plane, which is great, just to look at the integrity and all that, but sees a scratch that was not there before the flight, he will be upset about it. And I used to say, well, if you have a car, if you have a thing, it will get scratches, the body, it will go away. Now, quickly, the race part, and then I'll talk about today's subject. how we up the game, how we come out of these trenches that we are stuck in. Some of them are physical trenches, some of them are mental trenches, and some of them are even the trenches of a buddhi, intellect. Because intellect, by definition, we tend to see as a good, and it is directionally, it is actually, that will be a long topic. Bhagavad Gita 14 chapter, shlok 6, when the jnana is discussed, like a knowledge, the issue with intellect, usually it's discussed in the sense of it is sattvic. Even when Arjun asked the question to Krishna, 17th chapter, ye shastra vidimustrujya yajante shraddhayanvita, if somebody follows this shastra science, okay, shraddhayanvita, with a shraddha, now how are you going to describe them? Are they sattvic, are they rajasic, or are they tamasic? The very fact Krishna is asking that question, sorry, Arjun is asking that question, Arjun is intending that, hey, shraddha, by definition, the reverence, I mean, the trust in someone, by definition, is a sattvic. Yes and no. Actually, Krishna comes and destroys that understanding, says, no, even the shraddha can be of a three kind, sattva, raja, tama. So that is what, Adityaji, where this whole idea of a racism comes. So my point, I want to mention where the racism came about, like 150, 200 years, right? As a theory, came in Germany, a German guy. I would say, to give him a benefit of doubt, maybe he had a decent idea. Like he said, hey, I'm seeing things around. Like, he had not seen any non-German before, let's say, or non-European person. Now he came in contact with non-Europeans, and he suddenly says, oh, wow, I thought there were only human beings. Now, who are these? I'm jokingly saying this, right? Because look at it. I mean, what did the Abrahamic religions did, Christianity, for a long time? The woman, forget the other race. The woman has only 1/6 of the soul, right? And others like African people of African descent, and I'm sure people of the Asian descent, and everyone else, the whole South America, now who might be coming from Mexico and saying, you go somewhere else, they were seen as savages. The word savages meaning they have no souls. They are just to be treated like animals, or even worse. That is the kind of treatment that was used. As recent as 1932, a family from Africa, I don't know if you knew that, in Belgium, was kept in a zoo. And you can see the pictures, okay, literally, like, and then the people, locals from Belgium, folks are coming, and just like we go to the zoo and look at the lion and look at the tiger, they are looking at this family and the children, just like another species of animals. So quickly, what happened is, I will give that person a benefit of doubt. Just like when nothing existed for Western Europe, they created some frameworks to understand the world around you. Perfectly fine. That's what would have happened in the Vedic era. Vedic era, in the sense, with the what we have got in the form of a sukta, in that is there. Some of the sukta, like Nasadiya sukta, or Purusha sukta, trying to put the information in the metaphorical form, because it's like it is an attempt of that particular rishi is realization to understand the world. To that extent, we can give even a benefit of doubt to this German individual who started this whole race theory. Okay, so he looked at, he knew around the world, and he said the old Abrahamic philosophy is there. The God created the world in 6 days and all that, and it was all good, all perfect. The Old Testament. And then, of course, they now came up with this theory. So if I see somebody who is not white, okay, and therefore not beautiful, their vision of what beauty is, then that person has somehow degraded. And how do you explain that? Then this whole concept of existing concept of sin and everything, degradation, was applied. And where was this Garden of Eden? So this person made an assumption that the most perfect, most beautiful, whatever he could find, must be very close to the Garden of Eden, the starting point. And as you go away from it, it started degrading. Now, this person was a traveler. So he had traveled into the Caspian area, like, the Iran, modern day Iran, I would say, Afghanistan, and further north, like, the Baku and Georgia, the country of Georgia, that area, which was extended India, by the way. and he saw there. Totally fell in love with the beauty of the ladies there, and he said, "Okay, that's perfection in his eyes, huh? A German guy's eyes." He said, "Okay, so that's where the Garden of Eden must be." And from there, as people went away, their degradation began, including Germans. To some extent, he accepted the degradation of Germans, but not far. Not far from that. That's where the Caucasus race comes into being, from the Caucasus Mountains, okay, which are mountains on the border of Iran and Georgia and that area. And then this whole Hamite and all that stuff began. My point is, his intention may not be necessarily totally devious. He was working with all his biases and dogma, but what about the people in our times who have this luxury of knowing how the genetics works, how actually the pigmentation changes? The fair pigmentation of Irish folks has gone from India. Now that's what genetics tells us. Okay. The gene that allows us, or the formation or the hormone change or the enzymes that allow us to consume or digest the milk in adults, okay, that was formed in India, because the domestication of the cows and many animals happen in India. So I'm saying we have this modern science coming to our help only if we choose to use it in the right way. And actually, so Aditya, I'll give it back to you before I get into my subject. But this is not blaming everyone outside India and so India has got a perfection. No, actually, the India has become so Western in the superficial outlooks that if India wants to bring back the glory of the original philosophy, which has fortunately survived and even flourishing, but really wants to make the renaissance, really wants to make the revolution, then Indian researchers, Indic researchers, Vedic researchers, I'm using this word interchangeably, Bharatiya researchers in all fields. This is not about only if somebody researching on the Vedas or somebody researching on the Darshana Shastra, somebody researching on Puranas. I'm saying in any discipline of living, they have to grab what is being taught in the Darshana Shastras, but also what is being taught in a somewhat reductionist fashion in the modern science. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. But back to you first, Aditya ji.
Yeah. See, one of the Darshana Shastra you spoke, Darshana, is a viewpoint. Like Kali Santana Upanishad says, Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate.
Hmm.
That is the opinion of Veda. Opinion and commentaries. Don't replace the Shastra, right? So
Yeah.
the cultures built on Darshan Shastra will always be egoistic,
Hmm.
because that's a interpretation of a particular acharya for a particular community, and that is very valid. Shastra, to Bhagavan Krishna already said Tattva Darshana. So he acknowledges it, because Jnana Sattva Darshana.
Yeah,
Jnani
Adhyatma
people,
Jnana Nityatvam, Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam also.
Darshana,
Yeah,
Jnana Darshana. So the darshan is there, which is very valid. But separating it from Shruti and Smriti is not valid,
right.
because then you are deviating sometimes. You know, so
Correct.
many of the Indic Renaissance which we see today, and when they separate from Purana, Mahabharata, Ramayana, or Veda, then the darshana has no validity. Like Patanjali never deviates. One thing is good
Yes,
about Patanjali, never deviates.
right.
He's explaining much further based on his own research, but he's not deviating from the Shastra. Like the
Correct.
Ishwar Pranidhan comes back.
Yes, everything. Yama Niyama, Ishvara Pranidhan. In fact, what you realize is that these different darshana is a complementary aspect.
Complementary aspect.
Not only they don't deviate, but actually it's like sometimes making it easy.
Easy.
Like, everyone is served a regular food, but when given to a child, the mother may mash it up a little bit
Yes.
and give it, right?
Yeah.
It's given for a specific circumstances of the child's circumstances. That's how it is done. So they don't deviate. But also one more point I want to mention is, people have created this division, like you said, darshana and a shruti. Actually, darshanas are there to understand the shruti.
Shruti. That's right.
Okay, just like Vedangas, the Vedangas of a Chanda Shastra, Okay, and then Shiksha Shastra, and then the Kalpa and a Jyotisha, the whole astronomy is there to understand the Vedas. If you don't understand this, you will not understand Veda.
Like Brahma Sutra is explained
Mm.
best by the Puran is also a darshan.
Correct,
Using the
correct.
stories of, but Vyasdev himself is writing it
Yeah,
on the ultimate objective of Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra.
correct. And it also teaches the strategic aspect. For
Strategic
example, like if you go, just like Patanjali is giving a certain method, which you can see in chapter 6, 7, and 8 of
yeah,
Bhagavad Gita, right?
yes,
How to use what Patanjali's approach is explained in 6, 7, 8, or you can say vice versa. What is explained in 6, 7, 8 is been expounded by Patanjali, right? But I forgot the point I was going to say. Anyways, so they also teach the strategic point, which is what is today we'll talk about what the minimum necessary or minimum common program is necessary. One of the aspect which I'll not talk today is the strategic aspect. Sometime, when I will say something, or even Aditya ji, you will say something on the show, and somebody in there, I mean, they may be right. Actually, they may be right in saying, Nilesh, you said something, but that's not correct. Or Aditya ji, you said something and that's not actually correct. The correct answer is this. They may be right, but they miss the strategic part. Sometime you and me or others will say certain things during the discussion, and there is a strategic angle about it. So for example, Brahma Sutra, it will talk about like Sutra number 4, Tattu Samanvaya.
mhm,
Okay, like some we have to bring it together in a cohesive fashion. Okay, now sometime to bring that together, like if 10 people in an organization have to come together and work, it is recognized that they are going to have emotional differences, opinions differences, but you have to find a common minimum program.
correct.
Okay, and so Tattu Samanvayat, they understand, but many others will not understand. Tattu Samanvayat means even listen to the idiot and somehow accept the idiocy also. No, that's not what it means.
That's right. No,
All right. So, do you want me to
yeah,
begin?
please go ahead.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah. And based on that, today, what I'm going to talk about is for the, you see, our great acharyas, and it's not like acharyas, great acharyas suddenly stopped like 400 years ago. That's not true. Great acharyas are among us. Many times the problem is we don't recognize them when they are among us. Okay, this is the problem. And is this a new problem? Actually, it's not a new problem, because we have a wonderful statement in Bhagavad Puran that when Krishna was around, Krishna was in his avatar form here 7,000, more than 7,500 years ago, or around that 7,500 years ago, from 5633 BC to 5525 BC, 108 years. Many forget the people who were a bit away from him. And of course, there were like blatant enemies, like, Shishupal and many others, the other Vasudeva, the Poundra Vasudeva, and so on. He wanted to get the title and so on. But the Bhagavad Puran shlok says, even the Yadus in the particular Vangsha, Kula that he took birth, even many of the Yadus who were surrounding him could not understand his greatness when they were next to him. So that can also happen. My point is, the great acharyas are also there in our times. Amazing, amazing folks. I mean, we are fortunate. Aditya ji, you, me, and others are fortunate, and they are there if you want to take help of it, either directly, if they are still in their living body, or through the books and their works. My point is, they have done their job, but if we take this blindly, we will just create another dogma, not unlike the world religions. I mean, Hinduism is not religion, Hindutva is not religion, Vedic is not a religion. It is a way of life. In some description, it's correct. Why way of life? Because dharma is a sat, sat is a dharma. The truth is dharma, dharma is truth. By that definition, of course, I mean, who is talking about the religion? It's like religion is something that binds. No, the truth is the barometer. Now, if that binds, great. If you don't like the truth, get lost. I mean, that's the barometer. But what has happened is, many researchers in an Indic context, many researchers in our context have imbibed a very defective, especially when it comes to studying Indian narratives, extremely defective, extremely racist, extremely biased methodology. But today they are taking it, Adityaji, and they feel like they are being very dharmic. That is why I'm going to today show you why there should be a certain basic minimum criteria. You can call it minimum common program, but also a minimum necessary points must be there if you want to create a better research, if you want to take your current knowledge and lead to growth of knowledge, because the Sanatana is all about the growth of knowledge. Sanatana is always about yato abhyudaya nishreyasa siddhi, abhyudaya, prosperity, which means what? From what you have today, making it better. Nishreyasa, finding the ultimate good. And this is true with what we are living, like say, think of our daily living, and the ultimate good in the sense of adhyatmic, like intellectual. And what is it? Adhyatma is a refinement of science. Science is refinement of Adhyatma, as my good friend Fadkeji says. Okay. So today I want to describe is a minimum common program. And this is not to say that this is it. No, this is not it. There is a lot more. But Adityaji, and if you have a time, we'll go through some specific examples. You can ask me a specific point and say, Nilesh, what is a good example of this particular point? And I'll give you some examples. Okay. Again, we will try to stay with what we are familiar with, and I like to always keep on talking about the Mahabharata Ramayana, but this is not limited to, neither limited to Mahabharata Ramayana and not limited to the dating. But you will see how when you talk something very precise, okay, people's dogma, people's agenda, people's incapacity, okay, incompetence, that all comes to the surface. Okay, and that's why people don't like this. Okay, and then tattu samanvayam does not apply there, which is to say, people will tell that at the conference, ki bhai, fight mat karo, just bring everyone together, you are also right, you are also right. No, that is a utter BS, that is utter nonsense. Like, if there is a one specific historical event, there can be only one correct answer, or all could be wrong. That is acceptable. So, for example, like the dating I have done could be wrong, and I'm willing to take that. And all I ask is, let somebody come and come up with a better proposal. Actually, Adityaji, I'm working with a few original researchers in their own fields, directionally related to astronomy, but not necessarily only Indian astronomy. People from Europe, like Ireland, Switzerland, Italy, America, of somebody from European origin, but in America. And we are working on something. We'll see where it goes. Okay. I mean, this is not like we are all coming together and agreeing to something. No, we are very critically challenging each other, analyzing the stuff. So we will see. But let's go through what are the minimum characteristics of a better theory, and what is the basic minimum criteria for the growth of knowledge. Because something else has happened, Adityaji. In India, even with a lot of good changes happening, I'll give you some examples, and it's so damn frustrating. I cannot tell you, how frustrating it is. I'll tell just one story that might help. I was in New Delhi and giving a presentation on 3 different topics, like on a Surya Siddhanta, how old it is. It is much older. It goes back to 38,000, 40,000 years and older, possibly. The modern nakshatra system in it, and all our Indian system is definitely 30,000 year old, about 28,500 BC or so, beginning with the Kritika. So that's the kind of subject. And another, I gave a brief summary on the Bhagavad Gita. And there was a third presentation on a Shushruta, the dating of Shushruta going back to before Mahabharata time. So definitely more than 8,000 years old. And I gave like 3 talks in a series. And so there was a good audience. In the question answer session, somebody asked the question, okay, so Nileshji, you should now, this is always like this. They never talk about what they are going to do. Our Indians, I'm talking, guys, okay? They will not talk about, and whatever I'm discussing applies to everyone in the world, okay, as a lesson. when somebody does something and he or she is describing it to you, take inspiration. That's understandable. Then do something of your own. Do not lazily, foolishly ask that person your own crazy idea. Whatever idea, crazy idea you have, great, work on it. Okay, do something yourself and then talk about it, write about it, publish about it, do something. Do not ask lazily and in a foolish fashion, tamasic fashion, others to do something. Because most of the ideas, I assure you, if you have those ideas and you are not going to do anything about them and you want somebody else to do something about them, 99.99% of those ideas are utterly foolish. Okay, don't expose your foolishness by opening your mouth, as Mark Twain has beautifully said, in his characteristic style. Don't open your mouth, guys. Okay, if you're not going to do something on it, don't do it. Don't ask somebody else to do it. Because when you are not doing anything yourself, you are asking someone, you are utterly clueless and foolish. You have no idea what it takes to do original research. Okay, today that's what I want to tell you. This is the path, this is the criteria. Now, if you are not doing anything, Adityaji, there is another aspect. I'm sure you get it. I also get it. I get it all the time through emails, and I don't even respond to such emails. Twitter, Facebook, I mean, all those social platforms. When I give public lectures in the question answer session, before the lecture, after the lecture, like we were in San Diego, and things like that. They will ask, so I don't know if they listen to our talks, or maybe they do, but they will say, suppose now they know what I have done. So, okay, so say Mahabharata dating 5561 BC, Ramayana dating 12,209 BC, Rigveda definitely older than 21,000. Just take this as a three context, because these are the three sheet anchors for the Vedic civilization, right? Mahabharata, Ramayana, Rigveda, beautiful. So they may have watched my talks. They may not have watched my talks. If they have not, I mean, how foolish it can be. But let's assume that they have seen my talk. So they know I'm saying Mahabharata war happened 5561 BCE based on Mahabharata evidence. Now, still in a very stupid fashion, they will come and ask in some fashion, Nilesh, what do you think of so and so? Or what do you think of that other claim by so and so? Now, Adityaji, you tell me, if I have spent my life in creating this original research, communicating it, being very critical of that claim myself, of my own claim, testing it every possible way, and still I'm convinced that this is the only answer. Now, granted, I'm willing to give that I could be still wrong, because you can never be 100% certain. That I am convinced about anything. But if I am doing all of this, and if that's what I have dedicated my life to, what is the point? How stupid it is, how foolish it is for someone to come and ask, what do you think of so and so claim? Well, the answer is simple. I think it's a very wrong claim. The other day, like on forget what channel the person commented on Sattology video, but he was quoting our dear Dr. Swamiji, Subramaniam Swamiji. And somewhere on some other channel, Subramaniam Swamiji was referring to somebody asked him, or I don't know, Mahabharata, and he said like a 3000 BC or something of that effect. So the person said, hey, what do you think of that? Well, the Sat is a Dharma, Dharma is a Sat. So if you are asking me, that is a foolish question, because it's 5516 BC, and if it's not, then that is wrong. Now, how do we solve when we have these variations? Well, come together, do the samvad, do the vad. There is no difference between vada and samvad, okay? In the darshana speak, Bhagavad Gita speak, vad pravadata okay? That is, I am there among that wonderful vad that leads to a better theory, that leads to a growth of knowledge, okay? Now, Subramanian Swamiji is very old now. And also, he was not quoting his original work. He was quoting somebody else. I mean, that is, see, one of the foundation of Sanatana Dharma is a freedom of thought. If somebody wants to believe in something, it is perfectly their right. And I just picked Dr. Swami's example because the person asked that specific question. It could be about any 130 other Mahabharata researchers with their claims, or 30 folks who are possibly still around with their own claim. Now, if you are doing this, so instead of asking me a question, now you can still ask me a question, but show that you have done something of your own. You have put some effort. You have qualified yourself to be a eligible student in the spirit of tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Do you have a respect? Do you have a reverence for what I have done? Then only there is a point asking. And you cannot just arbitrarily say, oh, Nileshji, I have a great reverence for you, therefore you are asking, therefore I'm asking you a question. No, if you have a truly great reverence, you reflect that reverence by following my advice, which is to say, go study that work. So if there is something else that you want to ask a question to me about, you must have studied that. And you must have studied my work. You look at both works, you know the pros and cons of each work. And if I ask you that question, what did you like about that work, you should able to explain it in a crisp fashion with a background evidence. Otherwise, don't waste my time. Okay. So one of the first thing, when somebody is looking at any claim, it could be Nilesh's claim, it could be Adityaji's claim, it could be somebody's else claim about anything, Mahabharat, Ramayana, Sushruta, about some metallurgical technology, about some weather technology, about some agricultural practice, some medicine, different kind of medicinal treatment, okay? Different types of treatments, allopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda, doesn't matter what it is, what different ways of cooking food, which one is a nutritious food. It can be anything under the bright sun. That's not the point. The point is, if you are evaluating a certain claim and you want to know, is there some substance into this claim? Is this a better solution? Is this particular claim going to lead to the growth of knowledge? You have to ask this question. So you start and you ask the question, whatever this individual has done, again, as I said, it could be Adityaji, it could be Nilesh, it could be somebody else. Is this an attempt to solve some unsolved problem? Which is to say, how did this person begin with this research? Like somebody, and actually I'm going to tell you, I mean, that's a fact. I have said this many times. Say, take the space of Ramayana research, which is my area, and therefore I'm just talking of that research. But that's true. You will find similar phenomenon in other areas also. Most of them are like a Me Too. This looks like the latest fashion, the hot trend. So let me do something there too. Most of them, 99% are like that. So ask the question, whatever this specific claim is, whatever this specific thing that person is claiming that, hey, I have done this, or I have written a new commentary on certain Upanishad, whatever it could be, I'm just giving you these different examples, or I have given a new interpretation of something, or I have written another book, I have created another course, whatever that people are saying, ask the question, was this created in an attempt to solve a unsolved problem? So let's say somebody creates a course on Mahabharata. Why did he or she create the course on Mahabharata if there were 15 other courses available? This is not to say that the person should not create. No, actually, I see a need for doing a lot of things in the courses, in books, in the videos, in the documentaries, in the movies. I see that. But it should be driven by a desire to solve some tough, unsolved problem. Ask that question. As you study that particular work, as you watch that video, as you read that book, as you take that course, as you look at the agenda for the course, whatever it is, ask the question, does this appear to be an attempt to solve unsolved problem? Vachaspati Mishra, again, Aditya, you today talked about the Brahma Sutra. So Brahma Sutra, Shankaracharya has commented, but many other acharyas have commented. And Vachaspati Mishra commenting on Shankaracharya's Brahma Sutra, I mean his commentary, or just say Brahma Sutra for simplicity. He says, when you have a doubt, it begins with a doubt, samshaya, very, very important. The samshaya of intellect we are talking, not the samshaya of a mind. I said, he said, in his opinion, in the opinion of that professor, as translated by this individual, as translated by this printing press. No, these are opinions, guys. These are individual people's things. You have to have and say, hey, I am going with this translation. I trust this translation. I'm liking this translation. You have to have a skin in the game. Then somebody can come and say, you know what? You said this is the best translation. You're wrong. I'll tell you why you are wrong. Because that's why somebody must take a concrete position. Therefore, Vachaspati Mishra is saying, yes, you can have a doubt. You can doubt somebody's work. Nothing, no problem with it. But it should be saprayojana. Because if you therefore show that your doubt is correct, say somebody takes a doubt of my work, Nilesh dating of Mahabharata, Nilesh dating of Ramayana, Nilesh dating of Rigveda. We'll stay with these three as the intuition engine. What is the prayojan? Because the prayojan should be somebody should say, oh my God, because of this work, it's going to create confusion in people's mind. And confusion, understand, because many of our great sadhus, like we chatted before we began today, in their ignorance are saying, oh, these Vedas are from time immemorial, the great wisdom of 3,000 years. What kind of nonsense? That is the stupidity that was taught to us in last 200 years by the Western Europeans. And you are talking of the Vedic wisdom of time immemorial and calling it 3,000 and 3,500 years old. How more foolishness we need. And how are you going to achieve Indic Renaissance? How are you going to achieve Indic revolution? Ask those basic questions. Prayojana. If I solve this problem, if I object to it, and if I therefore able to show that this is not correct, assuming that is the case, because your focus must be on a satyana best tapasa yeshatma, not to put somebody down just for the heck of it. Find the truth wherever you may find it. And the second one is a sandigdha, which means tapasya is required. Sandigdha, the person has now a confusion, a doubt, because until now, the person thought, hey, that one answer is correct. Now he came across another answer or multiple answers. Now he is confused. But in order to be confused, you must study them. And some of those you will able to say how foolish they are and you'll able to reject them. And most cases, you'll able to come at the one final solution. That solution may be, hey, this claim is correct. This theory seems to be correct or better off the lot, or none of them are correct. That is the conclusion you will come. But if you do not come to that conclusion, and finally you land up with, say, 2 or 3 claims or 2 claims and saying, I'm not right now sure. Just like, people will go to the shop for buying a phone or buying a computer, a laptop, and they just look at, saying, there are 15. I have narrowed down to these 2, but I'm not sure which one to take. That is a sandigdha. Somebody has done the research through 15. And so prayojana, you should know exactly why you're buying that laptop for. You should know what you want to achieve with that or with your smartphone. Or car, buying a car or buying a house. That's so prayojana. You should know what's its purpose, what exactly it should able to fit. Then it will do. I spent so much time on this, Aditya, because it is that darn important. Why it's that important? Just as an example, I'll tell you. If you look at the 130 plus claims for the dating of Mahabharata, I am telling you, with the exception of one claim, and I will say this through your channel, my open challenge to anyone, everyone who is alive or even dead, but has made a claim and somebody wants to take their claim and represent that. This is open challenge in the spirit of leading to the growth of knowledge, explaining what a better theory is, how it is determined, and towards Indic revolution and towards Indic Renaissance. Not even a single other claim, okay, was an attempt to solve an unsolved problem. It was mostly me too. Or, hey, there are 50 claims, which one is correct? The person tried to analyze and said, well, none of them are correct. And he or she created their own exclusive lousy claim. That's how this has been done. No attempt, it was not driven by a desire to solve a tough unsolved problem. Okay. In my case now, of course, people will immediately ask, and they have a right to ask. They will say, okay, so Nilesh, which unsolved problem you were trying to solve? Many. Okay, but it started with that famous Arundhati Vasishta. Now, when I saw Arundhati Vasishta, then another problem popped up. Actually, it wasn't a problem, but it was a problem because all these goofy folks in the past have made a mess out of it in the last 300 years, okay, related to Bhishma Nirvana, about the duration, about the month, and about the tithi of the day of Bhishma Nirvana. That's why it needed to be fixed, okay? And it needed to be resolved. So Bhishma Nirvana, or the first day of the war, or if you go to the planetary descriptions, and we have now done what, Aditya 7 different, 7+ episodes on the just purely planetary evidence. What is Vakri? What is Akramya? What is Pida? What is Tishtit? What is Thai? What is Apasavya? What is Dishtit? What is Prajwalita? Can you explain all of these terms in the context of 50 plus descriptions of planetary evidence from the Mahabharata text in a consistent fashion? People were even ignoring this evidence because it was coming and smacking in their face for their dates. No single Mahabharata researchers, Adityaji, today, other than 5561 BC, dare come and discuss the planetary evidence and discuss these terms that you are saying, Vakri, Akramya, Pida, Tishtita, Sthai, Apasavya, Dishtita, Prajwalita, or the Bhishma Nirvana, duration, month, tithi, or discuss Arundhati Vasishta observation. Something interesting to tell you, I told you about some of the work that we are doing with, say, astronomers from Ireland, Italy, Switzerland, America. I'm in America too, but I'm talking of somebody besides me. Uh, there, some people are even actually claiming, I will not disclose it because I don't have their permission. In fact, they have requested me not to discuss this yet. But they have, so without giving the details, they think there could be another date within this epoch of Arundhati for the year of Mahabharat war. Now, I can tell you that I actually analyzed that work and that's not the case, but they feel it. So I have no reason to go and disturb their mind. I told them why it is not. But if they still want to believe, just like people believe this whole dogma of a 3000 BC range, yeah, they can believe it. So these are the different unsolved problems, one after another, that I went through to get to 5561 BC. Let's move on. This is not enough. And as I said, no, not even a single exception, Aditya whether in case of Ramayana dating or even the Mahabharata dating, not even a single alternate other individual can come, and I want them to come forward and say, look, here was this tough unsolved problem when I started my research to date the Mahabharata, and this is the reason I started. This is how I solved it, and it leads to this date. And then it goes through that iterative cycle. And then the next problem was Bhishma Nirvana, Arundhati Vasishta, planetary descriptions, on and on, first day of the war, and so on. Okay, the seasons and whatnot. Did they do it? You will not find even a single one. But it's very important. But that's not it. The next question people need to ask. Again, you are going to find how much of in a pathetic situation we are in. The next question, so now to solve the problem, or suppose the answer is yes. If the answer is no, person did not begin or person did not have any consideration of working on the unsolved problem and therefore they came to do this research, then you know what? They are just Me Too gang, Me Too attempt. Hey, this seems to be like a hot trend. This seems to be a fashion trend. Let me just see if I can become popular, if I become famous. It's driven by that. But let's move on. Suppose the answer to the first question is yes, which I said there are no people to be found. But if you go back, say, last 125 years, you will find that actually there are easily 10, 20 folks. We have to go back for last 300 years, okay? To last 300 years. You'll find some good 10, 20 folks who were truly looking at some unsolved problem. Driven by it, they were trying to understand when Rigveda happened, the composed and so on, when Ramayana was composed, when Mahabharata was composed, when it occurred and so on. So suppose we take something like as a yes and go to the next question, benefit of doubt. Okay, you have an unsolved problem. Now to solve that problem, you have to propose a theory. Again, tons of BS. Again, here what you'll find is even if somebody gets filtered and they can honestly answer the yes, now the next question is, okay, to solve that problem, did you propose a theory? And remember, in a darshana speak, in a shruti speak, smriti speak, in the satya tradition, in the sattology tradition, the statement of a theory must be universal and generic. When I ask people on a couple of debates or 2, 3 debates that I had, I say, what is your theory? Adityaji, you will be surprised. They say, same as yours. I said, well, if same as mine, then either you agree to 5561 BC or you lost. We don't need to discuss further. Unfortunately, they don't understand it. The audience is also like come there for some entertainment, just to clap at a random wrong time, So the whole Mela Jatra carnival goes on. But the point is, they cannot even produce a simple, crisp, universal, generic statement of a theory. Now, somebody is naturally going to ask, Nilesh, you are blaming all these others. What is your statement of a theory? Or what do you mean by universal and generic statement of a theory? So I thought I'll give you some examples from modern science. Of course, you can give it from ancient science too. Like Bhagavad Gita statements, many of the statements are the theories. Okay, so how am I going to get moksha? How am I going to have a joyful life? How am I going to have a wonderful, peaceful, happy life? Somebody asks it to Krishna. Krishna is giving yat karoshi, yadasnasi, yajjuhosi, dadasi, yat, right? He's giving a different formulas. I mean, they're similar formulas. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Those are the statements of a theory. Assertive, universal, generic. Okay. So, for example, in the modern science, Ptolemy's time, we are just talking of Western Europe for a minute. What was his point of view? The Earth is at the center, steady, and everyone is rotating around them. We are not talking of right or wrong, but it is universal. It's a generic. Everyone else is rotating around them. Okay, that's it. Now, we know Copernicus came and changed that. He said, hey, it's not the Earth at the center, sun at the center. We can easily describe it. Sun at the center, everyone is rotating around the sun. Now, sometimes the moon may be rotating around individual planet, but still everyone in a bigger sense is rotating around the sun. That's the heliocentric. Now, remember, in these both cases, they actually were wrong. Okay, because they were thinking the stars are also rotating around the Earth is rotating or not, and so on and so forth. You go to Kepler, they were also making some wrong assumptions like circular orbits and these equants and then the cycles and many other stuff. Kepler came and said, you know what, these orbits are not circular, they are elliptical, and all the epicycles went away. Now, epicycle was a practical arrangement. If you go further, Newton, he said, hey, there are two inertial bodies, there is an attraction between them. Okay. Einstein, it says actually what you think is attraction or a gravity that Newton described is actually because of the bending of a time space. Any inertial object in its vicinity bends, okay, curves the time space. Okay. It creates a distortion into the time space or the space fabric. That's what it does. In that line, I'll say, what is my theory? Mahabharata astronomy descriptions are actual observations, of course, of a Mahabharata times. Okay, something you should be able to explain simply. Once you do this, then we'll look at what the additional requirement is. Suppose somebody passes this. Now, I don't know when it comes to Mahabharata and Ramayana who that other researcher is. But Adityaji, through your channel again and through this program, I'll say, okay, let people come forward and say, hey, you know what? Oh, you wanted a universal and generic statement of a theory like the one you showed. Here is my statement of a theory. And here is, then the next question will be, all right, once you define your theory, have you taken into account all the evidence defined by your theory? Okay. So if I say Mahabharata descriptions, Mahabharata text description, Mahabharata astronomy descriptions from the Mahabharata text are descriptions of those times, the visual descriptions, actual factual descriptions of those times. It is a responsibility of mine. Onus is on me to go and search every single astronomy descriptions from the Mahabharata text and objectively, empirically test it. In a logical fashion, draw the inference and write it down, which inference matches for 5561 BC, which inference does not match for 5561 BC, and give a honest, truthful picture to the masses. Therefore, in every single book of mine, at least the first three books that I have written, I have a chapter called Conflicting Observation, where anything that it's a very small subset, and even there also it tells you many insights and leads you to growth of knowledge. That small subset, which do not directly prima facie agrees with my proposed solution, like 5561 BCE or 31st January 5560 BCE as the day of Bhishma Nirvana, or 12,209 BC as the year of Ram Ravan Yuddha, 12,240 BC as the year of Rama's birth. If there is some small set of evidence that does not match those, I have captured it, and in a very authentic way, very truthful way, it is been disclosed. Not only just shown, but actually it is being discussed. I have discussed that evidence and saying possibly what might have happened, and left it for people to take it further. Sanatano Nitya Nutana, the new researchers will come and try to take it further. But remember, we are talking about a better theory. Among all that is available, I am asserting that my claim of 5561 is the best. It's the better of everything that is there. That's why the best. Same thing for Ramayana. And I'm not saying it's the last word, but somebody has to come and do better than that to come up with a better claim. And I encourage people to do it. I'm not emotionally attached to my claim, not at all. I will be the first person to be happy, but not with. So now, when I say that, Aditya somebody says, but hey, here, so and so, Mr. X and Y, Z has come up with this claim. Now, yeah, so now are you ready to give up? I'm not going to go away from this claim for some stupidity, for some troll write up. No, so that's what people don't understand. See, this is how pathetic the situation we have come to. We can blame as much as the Western Europeans and their colonialist attitude and how they make us feel inferior. Yeah. But Vinoba Bhave has said it very well. He said, for our current state of this very pathetic state or the inferior state, yes, it is partly due to the torture, okay, and very unfair game played by Western Europeans and the colonial times and imperial times. But don't forget, they could colonize us because we had inferiority to begin with. Introspect and try to find out where did that come from. Because before the Westerners came, our society, there were a few bright people, they're always there, but society might have become very lethargic in a generic sense. Or the way Raju Malhotra says, he said, we refused. In our arrogance, in our foolishness, whatever it was, we refused to do the Purva Paksha of those new folks who had arrived on our shores. And that's why we are into this state. So don't forget that you are also responsible for it. You cannot continue to blame others. So ask the question, is evidence defined by the theory included? If the answer is no, and that is true for everyone else, no exception, researcher of Mahabharata dating, Ramayana dating, Rigveda dating, then the answer goes to no. Okay. Now, even let's give a benefit of doubt, and if it is there, you are not done. Now, if you want to claim your theory to be better than others, better than everything else, not the best, not the ultimate one. There is no ultimate word here. Even Krishna keeps on expanding the universes. If you see that, right? You try to know more about Krishna and you think finally you knew everything about Krishna, and Krishna will create more for you to know about him. Okay. That is the Brahman. Okay. That is the beauty of Adhyatma. But even for a better one, better than others. So suppose we call this new theory, let's call my theory as a T2. Okay. 5561 BCE for Mahabharata, 12,209 for Ramayana, and more than 21,000 definitely for Rigveda. Again, we'll use those three. So what are the characteristics of a better theory? There are many. I'm just giving you a minimum program here. And as an individual researcher, if you are sincere, you need to address this. If you are a consumer, before asking question to me and saying, what do you think of that claim? You have to take that claim. You have to take my claim and analyze using this, guys. That's why I'm giving this to you. So my theory, suppose, is a T2, a better theory. And any other claim that I'm doing a comparison with, I need to show at a minimal something like this. And there are many others we can write down, but just for your benefit, the benefit of the audience, those who will be looking at this, and those who very lazy fashion, tamasic fashion, ask me the question without doing any work of their own, background work of their own, Puropaksha work of their own, tapasya of their own, it is for their benefit. Of course, Adityaji, on YouTube, you can do it. You just listen to the comment and just ignore it, or I don't even read the comment from that person, if it's just the person continues to do that same nonsense again. But on a Twitter, I put that person on a mute, you know, and somebody gets more irritating on Twitter or Facebook, I just block and move on. Okay. They are wasteful. Okay. They are totally wasteful people in that case. Now, some people tell me, oh, Nilesh, but they may be sincere. Well, yeah, they could be sincere. So I give them 1 or 2 chances, no third chance. It's a waste of time. Okay. So what should they look for? What any one of us, including myself, I'm analyzing a certain claim and somebody says, oh, you should read that. It's a fantastic book. It's amazing work, amazing theory, amazing solution. Yeah, I actually do that. I actually do that all the time, looking at it. Of course, in the space that I described, but in everything else, in Ayurveda, nutrition, different naturopathy, those are my other serious interest. I'm always looking for it and I always experiment with it. Say, suppose Adityaji, how to fast. I do water fast. I mean, you know that I do fast even without water. But uh, how can you experiment with it? Is it make sense to do 36 or should you try 48? And is there a significant quantum jump in terms of benefits from it? I mean, I do these experiments all the time. Anyways, so for a simple theory, again, we'll use Mahabharata dating, Ramayana dating, Rigveda dating for people to kind of focus their attention, keeping in mind this applies to anything and everything, any theory, any problem, any solution. So if T2 is my theory, it should, if I want to claim that it is a better theory, if I want to assert that it is a better theory, it must make more precise prediction than other theory or other theories. The precise assertions should stand up to the precise test. We should able to test them independently. So, Vyasadeva has said something in the Mahabharata text, like Arundhati is walking ahead of Vasishta. Now, using astronomy, which is astronomy software or astronomy calculations of last 500 years, that Vyasadeva has not interfered in any fashion. Can those calculations show when first was Arundhati ever walking ahead of Vasishta? And if it was, when it was walking off Vasishta? And if it find the time, does that particular timeline matches with other additional evidence from the Mahabharata text? That is those first 2 lines. Then a better theory, somebody is asserting that his or her theory, a claim is a better claim, then it accounts for and explains more facts than other claim, other theories, other multiple claims. Number 4, a better theory describes, explains facts in more detail than the other claim, other theory. It explains why the causality, karya, karana, bhav. This is a common word across all the darshana shastras. Karya, karana, bhav. Of course, you see more emphasis into Vaisheshika darshanas and a Sankhya darshana and a Nyaya darshana. Less so when you go to the Vedanta for different reasons. That's beyond the scope of today's discussion. But even there, just like Shankaracharya said, basically Jnanam basically is what? Vastu Tantram. Okay. Just if you want to know about something, just go and ask that particular thing. Okay. Study that thing, analyze, test. That's how you will know. Na Purusha Tantram. It's not something to be sitting idly in the chair and just speculate, opine, and just write volumes of books. It's not about that. Let's go to number 5. T2, a better theory passes the critical test, crucial experiments that T1, other theory, other claim, or other theories, other claims failed. Number 6, this is getting better and better. A better theory, a theory which is on the right track. Okay, it suggests many new experimental tests not considered before T2, before that theory, and not suggested by or applicable to T1. And this is so beautifully can be shown for the entire area of a Mahabharata dating, entire area of a Ramayana dating, and actually entire area of a Rigveda dating. Now, number 7, T2 unifies, connects various either to unrelated problems. Okay. This can take 20 episode, just number point 7, but I'll say T2, something that, before sounded like, if you read, Dr. P.V. Kane's, Bharat Ratna P.V. Kane's History of Dharma Shastra, and the context of a dating of Mahabharata. He says, yeah, well, but if you do this, then this particular verse becomes problematic. If you explain it that way, then this verse become problematic. A better theory should able to bring them together, unify, connect these various unrelated problems and find a common solution. I'm just want to tell you again, that's why I would encourage people to read the books. I'll show the books again. uh, People should read my books with these points in mind, these 7 points in mind. And now, though, if you have read this book before, even multiple times, my books is when did the Mahabharata war happen, the historic Rama, Bhishma, Nirvana, go back and reread again with these points in mind. If you can satisfy these points, and just given for reference, I just given 7, there can be 20 others, then this by itself is a great achievement. Okay, great achievement. But I'm going to tell you one step further and then we are done. From a better theory point of view, yes, you pass the test. But from the growth of knowledge perspective, this may not be enough. This will be very exciting. Oh, wow. Finally, that somebody actually could show that Arundhati is walking ahead of Vasishta. Oh, that's a great excitement. Now, that excitement, Adityaji, when I did it in 2009, and I shared with at least 30 known folks who had claimed, I would say publicly, that they have done something related to the dating of Mahabharata. I'm talking 2009, I'm talking 2010, 2011. And once I published my book also, I reach anywhere between 30 to 50 individuals that I could think of based on my knowledge that they are interested in the dating of Mahabharata. They have done something, they have claimed something. And I sent my work. And guess what? They forget this. They could not even understand it. I mean, only 2 people out of 50 that I sent the individual books, to those individuals, I sent the copies of my books. 2 people simply acknowledged it. And then they went into hiding forever. Okay. This is what is required. This is how pathetic our situation is. So somebody is very proud to say that they have done the work on dating of Mahabharata or dating of Ramayana and dating of Rigveda or many other works, Sushruta and Bhagavad Puran and Vishnu Puran and whatnot. Now, when you say, hold on, I have come up with something else. Do you want to come and discuss openly on the camera? No, they run away. Or they will find some other excuse, but they will not dare come. They have no skin in the game. They were just hoping that nobody comes and challenges them. Okay, that's the issue. But my point is, even for a better theory, although those 7 requirements is a great achievement, is to be celebrated, that's not enough. Now, when this becomes a useful knowledge? Now, the better theory itself is a useful because people are going to get lots of insights, but there is something more. Again, what I'm presenting here is not some new stuff I figured it out. Many people know it. Haldane talks about it. Many philosophers of science talk about it. You'll find this very beautifully written. In fact, I have picked this from books of Sir Karl Popper, Conjectures and Refutations. I would encourage everyone to read that book. I would encourage everyone to read the book, The Logic of Scientific Discovery. And of course, don't forget Bhagavad Gita. And don't forget Nyaya Darshana. Because then you'll understand, in spite of what a fascinating books these are by Sir Karl Popper, The Logic of Scientific Discovery and the Conjectures and Refutations, you will find it appears, assuming you understand it, it's very fascinating. I consider Sir Karl Popper as one of my gurus. But I'm saying, in spite of that, you will find that as a one small chapter of Nyaya Darshana. That's how fascinating Nyaya Darshana is. But by that, I don't want you to misunderstand that you take just Nyaya Darshana and just have all the sutras, 500 sutras of Nyaya Darshana by heart, and now you are an expert. No, you are fooling yourself. Okay, you have to actually use the Nyaya Darshana and work on certain problems to understand what the Nyaya Darshana is doing. You should have a goosebumps, not just having it by heart, which is useful and you should go for it, but that's not the end of it. Unfortunately, Aditya in our Indic universities, Indian universities, or even here, many times when they do it, here it is more pathetic. But I'm telling you, in Indian universities also, even the so-called traditional places, people will have this by heart. They may write something about it and they think now they are the experts in Nyaya Darshana. No, they are not expert in Nyaya Darshana unless they have taken that aspect and applied to the real life problems from any walks of life. Okay, it doesn't have to be limited to the dating. I talk about it because that's where I ended up spending significant time of my life. That's why I talk about it, but it applies everywhere. Quickly, requirements for the growth of knowledge. So, okay, now you have got a better theory. Now, but that's not sufficient for the growth of knowledge. Okay, great achievement, fine, congratulations, but don't be happy quickly and just stay there. I will tell you, Aditya 99% of the folks, and I am challenging people, not in the challenging spirit, but in the spirit of a discovery, not the discovery, the Christian discovery I'm talking. See, again, we have to use English language to even communicate within among Indians, in the spirit that somebody may have done some fascinating work there and it may not have received the publicity it deserves. And so therefore some people may come forward, say, yeah, you know what, I have worked on solving an unsolved problem. I do have a universal and generic theory. Once I defined the theory, I took all the evidence defined by the theory into account, and I came up with a claim, I proposed a theory, and it does satisfy these 7 criteria. They can come forward. But do not waste my time if you truly have not understood these well. But there is something more. Okay, now the next things, Aditya, that I'm going to tell you, it may or may not happen. In fact, frankly, all of these, even the previous ones, you can put all your efforts. You have to have a very sharp intellect. I'm not talking of just ordinary intellect. Some degrees, multiple degrees will not serve you. Many people with multiple degrees are utterly foolish. I come across them every day, every day. Okay. And I come across people who have not studied beyond 12th grade. And so fascinating, they are my gurus. Okay. They are living folks, much younger than me, maybe only education up to 12th grade or less. And I consider them my gurus because they have what it takes. Let me quickly finish this and we'll stop. Requirements for the growth of knowledge. My point is, you may put efforts. You should have a Shraddha. Otherwise, you're not able to do any of this. So that Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi, Pradnya, you have to take that path. But even then, I'm going to tell you, even that Patanjali says, if you do this, Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi, Pradnya, Purvaka, Itaresham, others can achieve using this path. My point is true, but I will also add one word, luck. Okay, Daivam, that Daivam Chaivatra Panchamam, that is also required. So you may do this and still there is a luck factor. And I will say I'm very blessed, So I spend this time. I mean, people thought I'm a crackpot and even, why are you wasting time on this? And I couldn't even give them a better answer until I was successful. Like on this Arundhati Vasishta, I spent 15 years. I mean, I talk about that. And same thing on many others, by the way. Bhishma Nirvana, I spent 6 months. I was not doing anything else but this, but just the Bhishma Nirvana portion. Anyways, the 3 things, last thing, are very important, and there could be many more again, but I'm just going to talk about 3. Again, I'm pulling this from the book of Sir Karl Popper. He has done a tremendous job on giving these basics. And these are basics, but people, more 99% plus of the people, so-called researchers, do not get anywhere close to what I'm showing you on this one page, the whole page here. So what are the requirements for the growth of knowledge? This so-called better theory, I'm saying so-called because it's a claim at this point. A better theory proceeds from some simple, new, and powerful unifying idea that is empirical in nature. And it's not some, oh, I feel like this, according to him, according to that person. No, none of that bullshit will sell here. It should proceed from some simple, new, and powerful unifying idea that makes it empirically testable. Okay, pratyaksha. It should be pratyaksha testable. This is not to say that if we cannot test something pratyaksha, therefore it is wrong. No, we are not saying that. But in order for us to test the validity of something, either we can take it on a shraddha, and some cases we have no other option but to take it on a shraddha. Something that happens after death. I mean, how are we going to do it but Shraddha? Otherwise, we have to go to that world, I mean, go to death, meet death, and see how it is, which every one of us will have a chance. But most cases, we don't have ability to come back and tell what happened. Okay? We don't know that. Na samparaya pratibhati balam, that's, hey, beyond, that's a different complicated science. So it is taken on the strength of yoga, people's experiences, some great realized rishis, their experiences, we do that. But what do you do otherwise? In a practical, if you want to convince yourself in the alternate world here, like people have seen 7 different claims, it better be proceeding from some simple, new, powerful, unifying idea, like what I said. All astronomy descriptions of Mahabharata are actual, factual, visual observations of the sky. Newton said two inertial masses have attraction. Kepler said all planetary orbits are elliptical. Copernicus said sun is at the center and not earth at the center. That's it. This is the kind of thing, simple, new, powerful, unifying ideas we are talking about. The next one, T2 is independently testable, which is to say, take genealogy as example. Somebody saying, oh, you know what, Padma Puran says that. And then Bhagavad Puran also says that. And Matsya Puran also says that. It, to a very inferior mind, it may sound like this is an independent evidence coming from 3 sources. Answer is no. Why it is no? Because none of these 3 pieces, say genealogy, say time between Parikshit and Mahapadmananda, somebody says 1050, another says 1150, 1100, 1500, 3310. We don't have an independent empirical ability to test any of these. Now we do. With my research, actually, we do. Okay, because now we can say, hey, does this make sense? Does this 3010 make sense? Does 1050 make sense? And we can say 3310 is not perfect, but it is closer to the truth, a better approximation than 1050 years or 1500 years or 1100 years between Parikshit and Mahapadmananda. But that is possible now. But it has to be independently testable. Like Arundhati Vasishta Vyasadeva is saying in the Mahabharata, and something totally removed from it, the modern astronomy, you can take that and you can match those. That's what we mean by this. And new and testable consequences also come out of it. As soon as I said, based on Arundhati Vasishta, Mahabharata is not possible after 4500 BC, immediately people should jump up, and they did jump, and they said, oh, so how are you going to explain Bhishma Nirvana in a 58 days and Magha Shukla Ashtami? We'll do that another time, Adityaji. And I showed, you know what? The very idea of a 58 days is wrong. The very idea of Bhishma passed away on Magha Shukla Ashtami has no basis in Mahabharata text. Someone may interpret some verse like that, but the entire Mahabharata evidence goes against this assumption that Bhishma passed away on a Magha Shukla Ashtami, or the fact that Bhishma was on the bed of arrows for 58 days. The evidence could show. That's what we mean by there are new testable consequences, preferably of a new kind. What are you going to do, Bhishma Nirvana? So my Arundhati Vasishta not only got rid of all the 96% of the alternate claims, but it got rid of some of their other faulty assumptions, such as duration of Bhishma of 58 days, or the tithi of a Bhishma Nirvana as a Magha Shukla Ashtami. It got rid of those. And something else. That is, it must leads to predictions of phenomenon not observed, connected so far. One quick example of that is Adityaji. When I was doing this research, so let's talk about 2009. I had not thought about Bhishma on the bed of arrows for more than 92 days or 95 days. I have no reason to. I have not figured out Arundhati Vasishta yet. I don't know if 58 is a problem. Once I figured this out, and then I realized, oh, 58 is a problem. Okay, for anything before 4500 BC, 58 will not work. So where did this 58 come from? Now I started studying Mahabharata again, and I said people have very ignorantly, in a very lazy fashion, has accepted something which is not correct. So that's what I mean by must lead to predictions of phenomenon not observed, not connected so far. So that 90 to 95 came as a result of it. Okay, last quickly. And the new or the better theory must pass some new and severe test. Again, I'll use Bhishma Nirvana as an example, but we can talk about planetary, but we have done 7 episodes on that. Even on Bhishma, we did 4 episodes. Now, when 58 did not fit, I started studying Mahabharata text, and repeatedly I read through Udyog Parva, Bhishma Parva, Drona Parva, Karna Parva, Shalya Parva, Sauptik Parva, Stri Parva, Shanti Parva, Anushasan Parva, Ashwamedha Parva, Ashramosik Parva, just looking for why this 58 is not correct. Because that doesn't make sense. That was given, but what is the correct answer? It didn't take me long. Okay, the answer was there, and it just totally amazed me why nobody even bothered to know it. I'm not blaming them. Even remember, before 2009, I did not also look at it. The point is, because it is a characteristic of a better theory that it will point towards this growth of knowledge. Okay, so T2 must pass some new and severe test. There are many that my theory passes, but one entire planetary evidence, 50 plus evidence. And remember, I showed you that all different, like Akramya and Tishtati and a Pida and Sthai and Apasavya and Prajvalita. I mean, all of that. But just on a simple Bhishma Nirvana note, that not only I said 58 is wrong, but the new evidence that pointed to more than 92 or more than 95, it perfectly passed for 5561 BC. So Bhishma falling, the war beginning on 16 October 5561 BC, Bhishma falling 10 days after on 25th of October 5561 BC, and then from 25th October 5561 BC, Bhishma staying on the bed of arrows for more than 95 days, exactly 98 days, to the day of 31st January 5560 BC, a day after the day of winter solstice, when Bhishma passed away. Okay, we are done. So now, if you pass this better theory test, also requirements of the growth of knowledge, then and only then one can claim that they have done original research and also claim something to be new and revolutionary. If not, guys, if you don't pass this, and I'm not saying these are the only tests, there are many more, but even this minimum package bundle, okay, if you don't pass this, you have no reason to claim something as original and revolutionary. You are doing nothing but a Me Too attempt. This is for an individual researcher. Now, for a person who is consuming this research, person can use this chart and see whether it is something is a Me Too attempt or something is original research of their own. After this, if they have still additional questions, then it is makes sense to, for example, for them to come to me if it's about my research, or go to that another original researcher after they go through this. Until then, if they go, they are acting in the tamasic mode. Okay, their action is tamasic, their action is lazy, and therefore they should not be surprised if they are muted, they are blocked, and so on. Aditya, with that, oh, quickly, let me show you the book. If you are in around the world through Amazon, now if you have read this before, you already have a copy, guys, go reread it again with this particular slide in front of you. If you have not read it, now is a good excuse. Take this book and see whatever I am claiming there for a better theory and a growth of knowledge. Do these books and the content of these books and the claims made in these books stand the test, withstand the test of a better theory, but also the growth of knowledge? And if you are in India, don't forget Subbu Publications. Many exciting things are happening at Subbu Publications. Okay, very soon we are going to get into the audiobooks. When I say we, see, this is like, I feel like, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. I feel like the whole world is mine. Sattology is mine, and Subbu Publications is mine. That's the language kind of I feel so close to it. There are going to be audiobooks, many other books that Subbu Publication is bringing out. Very exciting for Indic Renaissance, for Indic Revolution. If you are in India, or even if you are outside, you can do this. Don't contact me about this, guys. There is an address there, www.subbupublications.com. Learn the basic courtesy, not to waste other people's time. Go there, look at it, write an email, write a WhatsApp, whatever the communication medium. Ask the questions. What will be the extra shipping if it is being shipped outside India? Do not assume that you will get it home delivered in America at the same price as it can be done in India. Okay, that's not how you get your groceries. The cost of groceries, Indian groceries, is different here than if you have to buy the same thing in India. Same basic common sense, common logic prevails. Okay, all right, Aditya ji, with that, back to you.
What a wonderful presentation. One thing I will say after hearing all these things, very accurately, logically done. The one thing which comes to the mind is the history of knowledge. Can there be history of knowledge? No, it cannot be, isn't it? But what is your view on that?
What do you mean by? I was going to ask, what do you mean by history of knowledge?
See, when we say history of knowledge, it means, there is, as soon as the senses were acquired,
Ha,
so the knowledge begins.
correct. And therefore, you cannot say when it started. Yeah.
Exactly.
In fact, it starts with the singular cell amoeba. See, imagine a glass bottle, okay? So transparent glass bottle that the light rays are coming and nobody's noticing any difference. And say in that water pool, amoeba is floating. Okay, to a small singular cell amoeba, like a big simple bottle, it's like an infinite, it's like an ocean, and it keeps on going in one direction. And it's going to say, you know what? It's infinite in all direction
Correct.
until it hits the glass bottle
Correct.
wall.
Correct.
And he says, what happened here? Through that samshaya, through that curiosity, the knowledge begins. So knowledge begins, you said it beautifully, with the sense perception, the knowledge is going to begin.
Yeah.
Okay. Anytime you are, and Popper mentions it very well, and Nyaya Darshana mentions it very beautifully. Anytime your expectation is challenged in not some very big way, in a simple way, that sensory perception, that your knowledge begins. So yes, there is no, at least we will not able to put together the history of knowledge.
Correct.
Right. And even if we do for our planet, like we talk about 4 billion years or whatever it is, still what about the other universes, right? There are so many out there.
Veda, the English meaning of Veda is knowledge.
Yes.
So there is no history of Veda also, because Brahma,
Correct.
when Brahma comes out,
Yeah.
you took an example of Eva, but Brahma had a similar experience.
Yes.
In the stem of the ocean, that lotus stem.
Yeah.
I mean, lotus is a figurative word given.
Metaphor.
We
Yeah.
won't be able to understand what it looked like.
Yes. Yes.
So, and he's searching for answers. Why am I here?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
Correct. Very true.
And then he hears a sound vibration. Tapa.
Yes.
Then he starts. He doesn't know the meaning of tapa also.
Yeah.
So he reached the outer boundary with so much brain power given to him. He
Correct.
reached the outer boundary and
Yeah.
started. Then again, coming back to the point, he hears a sound. So there was somebody giving him instructions. So even Brahma needs instructions.
Yes.
But how our people think that swatah, everything will come swatah.
Yeah, and Brahma needs tapa. You said it so
Tapa.
beautifully. Then he had do the tapa, which is that Varuni Bhargavi Vidya too. Varuna
Yes.
just doesn't give a free ride. Okay, son, here is the knowledge. No, he
Correct.
said, go do tapa.
Tapa.
You
And
know?
like parastasmat saraswatai, like that's a Sanskrit is there. The Saraswati told him to do tapa and gave him the mantra from
Right.
which we can do that. We can
Correct.
elevate. And then he engages in that, and then he finds out the purpose.
Yeah, which
Why
is the
is it?
Saraswati is the devata of a vak, which is the knowledge, which is intellect, right? So polish your intellect and through that learn it, right?
So my point is, she's a woman, feminine. This is energy,
Yeah,
not the purush,
yeah,
the mother. You can say
correct,
mother who's giving
correct.
the knowledge, because the first guru of every living entity is a mother.
Yeah, she's already, so that is today also, and Saraswati is ordering there to Brahma and everyone else. And so the people who are looking for the examples of woman oppression, gender oppression, for them it's a good lesson. Just jokingly, I will say, if it is, the male are oppressed, the men are oppressed.
The European history is filled with women oppression, and that's why all the feminism movement started in Europe. But now they're superimposing, because we face that, then everywhere people face that. By the way, I can tell all the Americans who are watching the show, everyone, including I am American, but telling everybody that when Europe was practicing witchcraft, then Rani Lakshmi Bai was fighting against British.
That's exactly,
You know,
the whole big tradition. Exactly, exactly.
in
Yeah,
1905 or 1906, the British Parliament had a law to end the witch hunt.
yeah,
So witches were women for them. That's
correct.
how they were scared of women and all those things. And in
They,
India,
they
Rani
were,
Lakshmi,
see, which that W has a wisdom in it. Okay, with they were scared of intelligent woman.
correct.
Jeffrey will tell you more about it.
Yeah,
Jeffrey
yeah, I
Armstrong,
know. I heard that.
Kavindraji.
Yes, I heard
Yeah,
that.
they were scared of intelligent woman. They didn't like smart woman.
They don't like smart women, because they in their anyway. We can go on and on in this one.
I know, but the smartest for us, the whole Vidvatta comes from Saraswati, Devi
Saraswati.
Saraswati. That's
So
where it begins.
The Brahma gets instructions from Saraswati.
Yeah.
So many people say we'll do another show on Saraswati and Brahma. I did one show already, but we'll do another one. And I was reading about Brahma and Saraswati and Savitri and Gayatri. All these mothers of knowledge, they they are the ones who guide the men, because Bhagwan Vishnu never interacts with the world directly.
Hmm.
Namam karmani limbadi nakam. But he is there as a protector. He is there
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But the his energies act first.
Correct. In
Uh,
fact, he has created such a sophisticated world that people start wondering if he exists. Right?
Name Suradevana, Asura.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much, Nileshji. As usual, enjoyed every bit of it. And also the viewers, do comment, like, and share widely, because what I need your help to share it widely. So please do that. And also do we have exciting projects coming up in Brazil, Chile, and South America, and India. We will work on it. We are Our team is there, but I'll give you some more announcements shortly. Namaste and thank you.
Namaskar.